Jae-rim was shocked by the cracks in the Kim family barrier. He didn't expect that there would actually be a gap in the barrier. On the other hand, Hain is being kidnapped by a robot. Jae-rim wondered if it was a real thing. Jae-rim smiled slyly and was confused by the Kim family who really cared about his safety. Raising his hand with bad intentions, Jae-rim didn't expect the Kim family to make a mistake like this. Jae-rim has a plan to use the barrier that has been penetrated. To get rid of the people who gave him the previous quiz, Jae-rim thought that the national evil was the heroes themselves, while thinking about that there was someone who would hold Jae-rim's shoulders. Jae-rim realized that someone wanted to hold his shoulder and immediately turned his head. It turned out that it was his fiance's father, Kim Young-sik, who wanted to greet him. Kim Young-sik asked if he had surprised him. Jae-rim said no. Kim Young-sik said that they would continue with the second round of the quiz, which made Jae-rim feel uncomfortable. Jae-rim thought that Kim Young-sik would definitely torture him with food until he gave up, but Jae-rim wouldn't just let it go. While Jae-rim was thinking, Kim Young-sik called Jae-rim. Jae-rim, who was acting, answered with an innocent face. Suddenly Kim Young-sik's hand went to Jae-rim. He patted Jae-rim on the back, which made him flinch. Kim Young-sik said that what his father said was just a joke, so Jae-rim didn't need to be confused about the answer. Jae-rim, holding his sore back, said that Kim Young-sik's pat was very strong even before transforming. Jae-rim misfocused when he saw the ice cream that had fallen in front of Hain's house. Jae-rim had a feeling that Hain would have problems when he returned home. When he heard the loud voice, Jae-rim felt angry. Jae-rim quickly approached the loud voice, making Kim Young-sik fall behind him. Jae-rim thought that the hole was too small to fit through. Jae-rim was confused by someone so bold, who targeted someone at the residence of the legend, Hain's grandfather, Kim Ho, apart from members of his organization. Jae-rim saw that the robot was trying to destroy the Kim family's protective barrier while carrying Hain on his shoulders. Jae-rim was annoyed with the robot and the robot stared at him. Jae-rim slowly walked towards the robot. With feelings of anger that flared up, Jae-rim clenched his fists and started to release his superpower, even though he knew his identity would be discovered if he did so. But Jae-rim felt angry because he had kidnapped his Hain. Jae-rim took out his superpower from his hand, but suddenly the superpower disappeared. Jae-rim was confused by his superpower suddenly disappearing. In front of him, the robot saw him. He prepared his laser attack on Jae-rim. When the robot released its laser, Jae-rim was still confused about his superpower not working. Seeing the attack, he began to try to block the attack with his physique. The robot then fired a laser at him, but the attack was prevented by Hain's father. Kim Young-sik asked him if he was okay. Kim Young-sik told Jae-rim to hand over the robot to him and told Jae-rim to evacuate. Jae-rim, who had recovered from his anger, thought that he had lost his mind for a moment. Jae-rim asked Kim Young-sik why he hasn't transformed yet. Kim Young-sik was also surprised because his transformation hadn't worked since earlier. While they were talking, the robot started its laser attack again. Jae-rim told Kim Young-sik to evacuate with him. Kim Young-sik started hitting his hands together. Kim Young-sik said even though he couldn't use his abilities. While pumping strength in his legs, Kim Young-sik continued, but if it puts his daughter in danger. Jae-rim was surprised by Hain's father's sudden change in aura. Kim Young-sik finished pumping and immediately jumped towards the robot. Kim Young-sik continued if he did that he didn't deserve to be called a hero as he started hitting the robot. In one attack, the robot hit Hain's father and made him fall. Jae-rim was amazed by Kim Young-sik, who fell in just one attack. Jae-rim felt that Kim Young-sik couldn't possibly lose that easily and would definitely get up and fight. Jae-rim, who previously felt that Kim Young-sik could fight back, began to doubt when he saw his situation. Kim Young-sik acts as if it only tickles him, annoying Jae-rim with his cool behavior. Jae-rim became very confused because if it was like this, Jae-rim couldn't be saved. Just after he thought he had an idea, he looked at the watch that Kim Young-sik gave him before, one of whose abilities was to create a barrier. The robot was seen immediately going downstairs. Kim Young-sik, holding his shoulder, said to himself that he had to take it slow like that. Kim Young-sik told Jae-rim to immediately evacuate, while Jae-rim instead started using the shield that was on the clock and prepared to run. He started running towards the robot, which made Kim Young-sik surprised by the incident. Jae-rim started slamming himself into the robot, making Kim Young-sik panic and scream his name. Jae-rim hit the robot, which caused the robot to be knocked back. Kim Young-sik was surprised by Jae-rim's behavior, who actually attacked him even though he had told him to back off. Jae-rim made preparations to withstand the robot's attack. Shortly after the robot began to prepare to release its laser, the Jarim barrier slowly began to disappear. Jarim's barrier started to disappear because he had previously made a call for help, but Jarim started to get suspicious and looked at his watch again. He felt something was strange and started to deactivate his barrier. Jarim wondered why the other Hanyeong Kim family members still hadn't arrived. Kim Young-sik ran towards Jarim and was confused by Jarim's behavior, which actually deactivated his barrier. Lessa began to activate his attack. Jarim, who was already suspicious, decided he wanted to bet, and he also wondered whether his suspicions were true. Hain started to wake up and called Jarim, "Oppa." With his elbow, Hain ordered the robot to stop immediately. Hain pressed the red button behind the robot, which made the robot stop functioning. Jarim, Hain's father, Hain's mother, and Hain's uncle were shocked by the incident, but after he pressed the button his hand slipped. Hain started to fall, and tried to endure the pain of falling by closing his eyes. Jarim saved Hain, who almost fell, by catching her. The robot suddenly became active again, but instead of attacking Jarim, the robot started to deactivate the system again. Jarim thought that his suspicions were true. The robot started to open its robot head and saw someone there. The robot's head began to fall to the ground. The person inside turned out to be Hain's eldest brother, Ha-hyun. He told Jarim that what he had done before was very dangerous. Hain quickly got out of Jarim's arms. Jarim was surprised by Hain's sudden descent. An angry Hain headed towards his eldest brother. While screaming, Hain explains that they were the ones who acted recklessly. Hain vomits blood, which makes her sister worried. Jarim was worried about Hain's condition. He asked if Hain was okay. Hain explained that he was fine and he was just angry. Hain had previously warned his brother not to test using extreme methods like this. The other Kim family who were there pretended not to know anything. K, who turned into a dog, was surprised by the behavior of the people there because all he had done previously was rest quietly, which made K confused by the incident. K rushed and ran towards Jarim, surprising Hain's mother. K whispered to Jarim, asking his brother if they had been caught. Jarim then picked up K and stroked him. Jarim looked at Kim Young-sik. Jarim explained that previously he thought this was an extension of his quiz, but he was confused by their excessive behavior. Kim Young-sik broke out in cold sweat and was confused about what to say. Jarim glanced at Kim Young-sik and asked him to explain in more detail. In the previous incident, Kim Lee-hoon explained that there was nothing suspicious there. Kim Young-sik told his father that perhaps Jarim was an ordinary person with an extraordinary physique. Kim Ho will then show something to Jarim. Kim Ho wants to show the meaning of an ordinary person in the Kim family. After the flashback, Jarim started asking questions. Jarim asked the Kim family about them, who seemed to be preparing practical theory for the heroes and villains quiz. Kim Young-sik explained that they actually didn't want to go this far, but because at that time Jarim activated the barrier to fight the robot, alerted the guards and did not prioritize running away, making the incident complicated. Kim Young-sik explained that Jarim should have followed the procedures correctly and not suddenly turned off the barrier. Jarim apologized about that. But Kim Young-sik and the rest of the Kim family must also apologize because they made it dangerous and went too far. Ha-hyun apologized because he was too serious in acting. But Ha-hyun was also curious about how Jarim knew. Jarim explained even without pressing the call button. It would be strange if the hero didn't appear even though something happened in the courtyard. And when Jarim saw the head of the robot, he thought it was Ha-hyun, who was the head of the association's research department. Jarim thought that what was most suspicious was that he didn't take Hain as a hostage. Kim Ho was surprised that Jarim was able to realize all that from the start. Kim Ho feels that even though Jarim is an ordinary person, Jarim has extraordinary courage even though his life history is ordinary. Jarim felt that he was being praised too much, even though in his mind he was confused about whether he was being suspected or being praised. With this incident, Kim Ho was sure now that he had seen Jarim's extraordinary talent. Jarim was shocked and wondered what that meant. Jarim was confused by Kim Ho, who put aside his suspicions and accepted him as his son-in-law. Kim Ho asks Jarim about the hero sponsor mentioned earlier in the quiz. Jarim answered that it was a freelancer sponsorship program and adoption program. Kim Ho added to Jarim's answer that he wanted to create a new program, namely an ordinary people development program. Kim Ho asked Jarim to get his support and become a hero. Jarim suddenly remembered that Kim Ho was the personnel audit manager of the Heroes Association. Hearing Kim Ho's request made Jarim confused. Jarim, who is a villain, must carry out civilian training. Jarim thinks that Kim Ho is crazy and wants to make him a hero. Hain, who heard this, felt angry. But when Hain wanted to explain to his grandfather that his oppa was just an ordinary person, his mother stopped him. Hain's mother told her father that his father had not discussed this before, while K, who was in dog form, thought that Kim Ho was crazy and wanted to make his brother a hero. Kim Ho knows that previously no one had trained someone who didn't have previous abilities. But Kim Ho emphasized that ordinary people can also become heroes. Kim Ho explained that currently only people who have super abilities can become heroes. But in the past people who did not have superpowers could also be heroes. For example, a mother helps her child who was hit by a vehicle. Kim Ho felt that Jae-rim had the determination to save other people and could work miracles in an instant, like people in the past. Kim Ho's words shocked Jae-rim. Kim Ho felt that things like that gave encouragement to the people around him, but that feeling had disappeared. When Kim Ho was explaining, Kim Lee-hoon interrupted and felt that his father had superpowers a long time ago. Kim Ho hit Kim Lee-hoon, which made his self-esteem fall. Kim Ho added that his granddaughter wanted to be a hero too, making Hain embarrassed by her grandfather's statement. Kim Ho gets to the point and says that Jae-rim has potential. Kim Ho asked him if Jae-rim wanted to think about it first. Hain curiously glanced at Jae-rim. With his head bowed, Jae-rim answered. Jae-rim apologized to Kim Ho because he felt that he was not the right person to be a hero. Ha-hyun could only nod while Hain's father was a bit disappointed to hear that. Jae-rim added that instead of protecting many people, Jae-rim only wanted to protect one person. Jae-rim's words surprised Hain. Hain slowly started to look at Jae-rim. Jae-rim and Hain stared at each other, making the previously tense atmosphere better. Kim Ho heard the choice Jae-rim made. He respected his decision and gave up forcing him to become a hero. Kim Ho thought that Jae-rim would be interested in becoming a hero, even though Jae-rim was an ordinary person, but it turned out that their efforts were in vain. Kim Lee-hoon, who heard this, was confused, because Kim Lee-hoon felt that his brother and Ha-hyun were the ones who suffered the most in the play. Ha-hyun also admitted and felt that it was too real to be called a play, because Ha-hyun had to break the barrier in an invisible place. Jae-rim, with a blank stare, was surprised because it turned out that the one who damaged it was Ha-hyun. Hain, who was beside him, was confused by Jae-rim, who was daydreaming. Kim Ho told Ha-hyun to repair the barrier because there was no point in breaking it in an invisible place. Jae-rim, who heard it, didn't want the barrier to be repaired now. Nervously, Jae-rim interrupted their conversation to buy time, making Ha-hyun ask what Jae-rim wanted to ask. Jae-rim was curious about why his father couldn't use his abilities before and asked Ha-hyun if that was his tool. Ha-hyun agreed and answered that it was still in the testing stage, so it only lasted a few minutes. His statement surprised Jae-rim. Kim Young-sik reasoned that if he hit Ha-hyun, his charade would be over in a minute. Ha-hyun apologizes to his father because he is that weak. Ha-hyun is surprised by his son's statement. He didn't mean to belittle him. Ha-hyun tells his father to step aside because he will repair the barrier. Jae-rim is amazed that Ha-hyun can create a product that can prevent someone's abilities. Jae-rim thought the product was very interesting, but on the other hand, for him, who is a villain, this product is very dangerous. Hain touched Jae-rim's body, who was thinking. Jae-rim glanced at Hain and asked him what he wanted to talk about. Hain asked him to come up and rest with him. Jae-rim happily complied with Hain's request. Jae-rim talked to Hain about his dream of becoming a hero. Hain answered that that was his dream when he was little. On the other hand, Kim Ho, Kim Lee-hoon, and Kim Young-sik seemed to be watching a soap opera. Kim Lee-hoon asked his father that as the head of the Human Resources Department, he interfered too much in other people's affairs. Kim Ho told his youngest son to be quiet. After that, evening arrived, inside the Hanyeong Kim family residence. Hain said goodnight to his fiancée. Jae-rim also said goodnight to Hain. Hain then went into his room and closed the door. Jae-rim sat like he usually did. Jae-rim then started to take off his glasses. Jae-rim asked someone should they discuss the report and analyze the hero. The person he asked was K, who had returned to his human form again. Hearing his boss's question, K smiled broadly. K answered that this was a big discovery to be able to find out about the various discoveries of the Kim family. But K regretted it because they couldn't take advantage of the damage to the barrier because Ha-hyun immediately repaired it. Then Jae-rim wanted to tell K something. Jae-rim reached into his pocket, which made K curious about the glowing object that Jae-rim would take out. The glowing object turned out to be green glass. K was surprised by the object that Jae-rim took out, and it was as if he had seen it before. Jae-rim told K to give it to Jae for analysis. It turned out to be a cracked barrier. When he saw a cracked barrier, Jae-rim was grateful that he took it at that time. K feels that his brother is really great because now they don't need to worry about breaking the Kim family barrier. Jae-rim said that this was the start of being able to beat them. Jae-rim then laughed in his room at his initial plan to defeat them. On the other hand, the legendary Kim Ho is sitting and looking at the garden. Kim Ho said to someone behind him that it was a shame that Jae-rim didn't want to be a hero even though he was a good resource. Kim Ho asked someone behind him if he thought that too. The person behind him turned out to be a hero inspector.